Hi, good morning, guys. It's Mike, and I wanted to go over boot stretching with you. We have two types of boots that we stretch, either stiff boots or soft boots, and there's two different ways to stretch them. So for today's video, I'm going to show you soft boots. We use these antique handmade Vogel boot stretchers, and these are, it's 2025 now, these are approaching 50 years old, so don't break them. If you don't know what you're doing, stop. Find somebody who does. They can't be replaced, and the new ones don't do as good of a job as these do. So they have a mechanism that slides from the bottom to the top. You don't flip anything around. You don't open it up. Don't mess with the way this plate fits inside of here. The plate, if you expand it too far, comes like this, and then if it opens up like this, you're going to break it. This plate here, you can see that, needs to stay aligned inside of this gullet right here. That's what slides up and down inside of the boot stretcher. And where this pivot point is, remember your physics classes, that's where the pressure is applied. So if you have this at the top, that's where the pressure is going to be applied on the boot. So when we're stretching boots, we usually stretch at the top of the boot or at the calf of the boot. Rarely on a soft boot do we ever stretch down low because we want it to be snug in the ankle. So the other thing, this is the back of the boot because that's how your calf is shaped. Your calf is not shaped flat like this, like your shin. Keep this at the back of the boot. Be nice to your boot stretcher. This boot here needs to have the top stretched. The customer can get it zipped to approximately here, but can't get it zipped the rest of the way. So we need to move the pivot point to the top of the boot stretcher. You always take your boot stretcher spray, and if it's approaching empty like this, fill it up. If we're out of boot stretch spray, let someone know. If there's no more, we can't stretch boots. So let someone above you know if we're out of spray. If you can't find more, there's always a gallon of it right here. If we run out, let someone know. Spray the boot stretcher. Give the boot a spray. You want that boot stretch to get into the leather because that's what's going to allow the boot, the pores of the leather to open up. Now, as I put this inside, I've made sure that the boot stretcher was approximately dialed in to the shape of the calf. And very important, the top of the boot stretcher is not below the Spanish cut on either side. If you put it below here, or if you put this below here, you're going to cause a crease, and no one's going to be happy about that. Least of all me, because I'm going to have to pay for a new pair of boots. Now, the pivot point, you can't see it in the video, but I can see, is right here. Now, if I start stretching, what's going to happen, this part of the boot is just going to start stretching, and the elastic is just going to stretch right at the very top, and it's not going to do any good. So common sense tells me I need to move the boot stretcher into this area because I need this part of the boot to start to open up gently, and over the course of a couple of days we can get the leather to stretch and not the elastic. Gently, day by day, doing it morning and night, putting pressure on the rest of the leather, we can get the leather to stretch and not the elastic. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to slide it down until I see that it is aligned right here, right where I want to go. And then I'm going to start dialing it. And as I'm doing this, I'm watching to make sure that I like where the blocking, that's what we call the shape of the wood and the shape of the boot, that's called blocking, that where that's taking place and that where the elastic is starting to stretch, that I'm happy with all of that. And I'm not on this first go. I've got too much stretching up here. I've got this bubble right here, and then I don't know, it's a little bit tight through here. So I just want to move it down a little bit to take some of this off and get a little more stretch in this area. So I'm just going to back it off. I'm going to drop it down 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to keep stretching. And I do see the top is still opening a little bit. At that point, I'm going to ease off. I'm going to close the top, ease it just 1/2 turn. There's still tension on this. There has to be for it to work. You can't be wimpy about this. There has to be tension on it. Now we've got the tension that I like on this. And now we need measurements because we have to see how much have we stretched it. Because if we don't take measurements, we don't know what we've done. So for the top of a boot, you go down 10 centimeters. You can see that's about 2.5 inches in through here. That's the amount the customer can't get it zipped up. That's how much we need to get this eased off. So from that point at 10 centimeters, just take the tape measure, wrap it around, and I have 38 centimeters. So on my board here, I'm going to write 38 centimeters. The board's really important to keep track of. We have customer's name, Sarah Hallman, the date it was dropped off yesterday. How much do we need to stretch it? 1.5 centimeters. Less than 1.5 centimeters on a soft boot, there's really no point in doing anything. You need to kind of get to that point to get a fix out of it. Where do we need to stretch it? The top. The date I put it on the stretcher was today's date. Where did we measure from? I wrote from the top down 10 centimeters, where you just saw me measure that. For the right leg, which is the boot I just measured, I got 38 centimeters. For the left leg, which I've already done and hung here correctly so that it is laying against the door and allowed to dry, I got 38.2. So I got a little more on that one. Now I'm done with this part on this boot. You can see the inside of the boot is against the door, not the outside, because you don't want the outside of the boot to get banged up on the door. This boot, put your tape measure back up here because you're going to need it in a couple of hours when you close and come down to stretch the boots again. Now the boot has been sprayed on the inside. Now spray the outside of the boot. That's going to help open up the pores of the leather and allow it, as it dries, to stay that shape. If you don't let the alcohol boot stretch combination open the pores up on there, it won't stretch and stay the way that it needs to. Then take your boot, hang it back up, and it'll be dry by the time you come back to it in an hour or two. If you do this throughout the day and just keep working on it, you can get a pair of boots done in 24 hours. It shouldn't take more than 48 hours if you stay on it and do it correctly. 24 hours is completely doable. Just make sure you're documenting it and marking what you're doing, because you need to know how quickly it's happening and that it's done. And then after 48 hours, you're done. You're not going to drag this out any longer and magically get it to a different spot. At that point, it's done. Keep an eye on your elastic as you're always doing this. Really important. Keep an eye on your snap. Don't overstretch it and break the elastic. I think those are primarily the main things. If you're doing the calf, same thing. Just push this further down just so you get into that calf area in the boot, and then just measure down. It's different on each pair of boots where you measure from the top down to the calf, just based on that customer's leg height. But like 25 is kind of a general guideline, I'd say, for that area there. and then just document it. And if you need more areas that you've documented it, just put it on there. So that's it. Good luck, and make those boots fit.